请问校长，您承办这个活动是建立了怎样的考虑上？
多謝你嘅訪問啦嚇。其實咧，我哋今次咧辦呢一個國際多元智能會議咧，已經辦到係第3屆㗎啦嚇。咁其實第一屆咧都係超過10年前我哋去辦嘅。咁啊，跟住就喺疫情裏面啦，我哋辦咗第2屆。咁啊，今年咧我哋就辦第3屆。咁其實咧我哋辦呢個國際多元智能會議咧，其實就係想咧推廣呢一個咧多元智能嘅教育。點解我哋咁樣做咧？因為我哋其實就我哋學校係1997年創校啦，咁創校到而家都26年啦啊。咁其實咧，我哋發覺咧，我哋用多元智能呢個理念咧，其實對於學生嗰個學習咧都幾有幫助。因為點解咧？其實學生嚟講咧個學習壓力其實幾大嘅。如果我哋一味淨係去注重學生嘅學術成績啊，而忽略咗佢哋嘅興趣同埋多元發展咧，其實我哋覺得咧就比較唔理想嘅教育。咁藉住咧辦呢一個多元智能國際嘅講座啦，我哋希望咧就係連結世界唔同國家唔同地區嘅力量惠及更多學生。因為點解咧？因為我哋希望辦呢個講座唔單止係今次我哋都應該有好多唔同嘅地方嘅學者學校參加啦。咁應該咧亦都有唔同嘅地方嘅人會睇得到。而進一步咧，我哋其實希望咧唔同嘅國家學者同埋學校咧，加入咗我哋嚟緊一個叫做國際嘅全球嘅多元智能嘅網絡咧，翻到去佢哋嘅國家咧，可以繼續推廣呢一個學習模式。呢一個咧，其實係我哋嘅最終嘅目的嚟嘅。多元智能教育咧，其實對學生嗰個心理上同埋咧學習上，同埋嗰個老師嘅教學上咧，有一個好大嘅幫助嘅。點解咁樣講咧？因為多元智能教育咧係幫助我哋發掘每一個學生嘅長處。我哋好多時咧教育咧尤其是老師或者係父母，好多時咧就發掘小朋友嘅短處即係話你有咩做得唔好，有咩缺點集中咗佢攞咗95分都會去問點解唔見咗5分嘅咁樣咁我哋其實咧希望小朋友咧每一個小朋友其實佢出生出嚟咧，其實佢有一個天分嘅，每一樣嘢都。咁我哋藉住多元智能呢套理論咧，其實可以分別到唔同小朋友喺唔同嘅領域，究竟佢天分喺邊度咧？其實我哋希望咧，藉住多元智能，我哋可以設計一啲唔同嘅課程、唔同嘅教學方式，俾學生有多啲唔同嘅學習體驗從而咧令到佢哋喺強嘅地方。繼續加強，亦都增強咗佢信心去帶動其他嘅學習。我諗呢一個咧，其實係多元智能裏面咧一個學習嘅精髓嚟嘅。
您認為多元教育對整個教育界有怎麼樣的改變？
多元智能對整個教育界其實係一個反思嚟嘅，我覺得因為點解咁樣講咧？因為我哋會知道咧，其實學童咧現在嘅人咧，其實好多時都話比以前係聰明。或者比以前咧學多咗好多嘢，每一個人咧其實佢嘅學習時間咧係充斥到滿晒嘅。而家我哋嘅小朋友係由幼稚園開始，咁其實究竟邊一啲嘢係佢哋適合佢哋發展適合佢哋去做嘅咧？我諗多元智能咧其實係可以找到一條出路我哋希望咧就係家長啦或者學校啦，其實係俾多啲機會小朋友去嘗試。去嘗試到唔同佢哋喜歡嘅東西、喜歡嘅領域，咁慢慢地咧，小朋友咧就可以喺佢嘅強項嗰度建立。因為我哋覺得未來嘅世界咧，其實教育需要係乜嘢咧？係既廣但係要深。點樣既廣要深咧？基本上佢嘅學術咧，我相信而家呢一代嘅小朋友咧問題不大嘅，佢哋喺語文數理或者各方面。咁但係有冇一門興趣佢哋學習得到係可以令到佢終身好深入咁去了解或者去鑽研我哋叫呢個叫做終身教育啊嘛，係咪我諗呢樣嘢咧係喺多元智能裏邊咧係可以找到答案嘅。
Firstly, can you briefly introduce the content of NR?
Well, that's a very good place to begin. So the notion of multiple intelligence is that the human brain consists of more than one computer. That we have at least 8 distinct computers that are processing different kinds of information. And what Howard Gardner did was back in the early 1980s, he came up with a new definition of intelligence, which is the ability to solve a problem, create a product, or provide a service that is valued in at least one community or culture. And based on this definition, he researched cultures and brains and came up and was able to scientifically identify 8 distinct forms of intelligence: linguistic, logical, mathematical, that are equated with IQ, as well as visual spatial, the naturalist, kinesthetic, and musical, and interpersonal, and intrapersonal. And then basically, that's the theory in a nutshell.
Okay, so compared with the traditional education, what are the innovations or advantages of the MI education? Maybe how it is realized in Hong Kong?
Well, there's 2 important things: how this changes the way that we should teach and the way we should organize our schools. Is that rather than making low to high ranking individuals, instead we describe their full range of skills and abilities. And when we do that, we can then begin to what's called personalize our instruction. And my work has to do with accentuating our strengths and understanding our strengths for each student, as well as their limitations, as well as what's difficult. There's no such thing as a perfect person. There's no 100 and there's no 0. We're all somewhere in these 8 different areas, and we can describe a whole range of abilities. And then we can decide, well, how can I memorize and learn? I'm a neuropsychologist. How can I memorize and learn new information and new skills?
Does this concept of MI need for the development of education?
Well, it's challenging, first of all, because it means we need to reorganize schools. And that is a difficult process when we have a traditional, conventional model, which is based on industrial design for efficiency and economy. But the human brain doesn't work in an efficient and economical fashion, because not everybody fits on the conveyor belt neatly and tidily. And what happens is that you have students who fall off the conveyor belt because they don't fit into the conventional model of IQ. And the number one complaint about schools around the world, what do you think that might be? There's one complaint researchers find over and over again, and you've probably heard it in your own life. School is boring. Exactly. Why is that? Right? Why is school boring all around the world? It's because of the design of the classroom, the design of the school as a system based on this notion of IQ, or general intelligence. When we get away from that, and the schools that I've experienced that are inspired by multiple intelligence, school becomes exciting. It becomes fun. It becomes personalized. It's hard work, but it's engaging and exciting.
Professor, compared with the traditional education, what are the innovations or advantages of MI and how it is realized in Hong Kong?
Okay. Basically, in our traditional education, it is something like the teachers speak with a very clear objective and pattern, and then students receive it and then write it down. This is the only way. But for multiple intelligences, you have 7 ways. You can teach by speaking to it, by other movements like bodily kinesthetic intelligence, by using your brain, which technically is logical, mathematical, speech. With that different styles of teaching, you will be able to have students learn in a much better way.
So what does this MI education mean for the education industry?
It would mean a change of the way of thinking and how we would approach education. Traditionally, education is just teacher talk, students receive. This should not be the case. It should be the case that teachers may talk and motivate students, and then they can participate and learn it in different ways. For example, in music, in dance, in movements, in drawing, and of course in thinking, writing, and so forth. So it's a diversified way of learning.
So, what are the reactions of the parents on this MI education?
Parents, I think they enjoy it because the students enjoy it. Students being very happy with activities, interaction, and so forth. And parents definitely would think this would be the good way. However, they are also very concerned about whether that can lead students to good scores. They are always concerned about exam results. Would MI be good for exam results? I should say it will, because students would learn more, learn deeper.
How do you feel about attending this forum, this event?
I think it is such an honor to be here today, and just to meet such influential people in education has been such a unique experience for me because I am relatively new to teaching. I feel like I have so much to learn, and meeting these esteemed guests and doctors of education and people who have so much knowledge on different aspects of education has been really important to me. So, listening to everybody speaking, the keynote speakers, I feel like I'm learning a lot about what multiple intelligence really means, especially as an educator at a gifted and talented school.
What have you learned about EMI?
MI is such a complex understanding in education. I feel like I have learned so much about how the mind works, and everybody has a different experience. Everybody learns differently. We all have unique viewpoints on life, and I feel that really shows in education. No two minds are alike, and I think Howard Gardner says it best. I can actually read you a direct quote from what he says. Granted only our species membership, we are fundamentally alike. Factoring in each person's unique genetic blueprint, we become capable of achieving different potentials, and our different family and cultural milieus ensure that we will eventually become distinct human beings. Because our genes and our experiences are unique, and because our brains must figure out meanings, no two selves, no two consciousnesses, no two minds are exactly alike. Each of us is therefore situated to make a unique contribution to the world. And I can't summarize it more than that. I think he says it perfectly, and that is just a general introduction. There's so much more for us to find out about multiple intelligence, and that's why I'm so excited to attend the forum today.
How do you feel about attending this forum?
Well, I'm very excited at first because, first of all, there really isn't much chance that we can, listen to Professor Garner's sharings. So, in such a direct way. I mean, those videos, they were very impressive. So, I was just excited to be able to learn more about multiple intelligences, to hear about, how Professor Gartner developed the whole thing, about how it circulates in China. All these kind of things really excites me.
So, what have you learned about MI education?
Yeah, I've learned a lot, I think. Um, for example, I think I was quite impressed by, how Professor Gartner was trying to clear things up for us, because I believe as the theory of multiple intelligences is spreading so widely worldwide, there might have been a lot of, misunderstandings. And I really appreciated how things were cleared up, how we understood more about the value behind, the development of multiple intelligences.
So, now that you have learned so much, do you prefer MI education rather than the traditional one?
Okay. Um, I think it is very important that we put our attention on how we develop multiple intelligences according to the strength of our future generation. Because in a more traditional way of education, I think it's like what Professor Garner shared. We see intelligence as one, solid chunk of thing. So it's either, you have high IQ, it means you're smart. You have low IQ, it means you're less intelligent. But in his theory and in his sharing today, we learned that, there are actually multiple ways of looking at what people are good at, what their strengths at. So I think developing our kids, our future generation's strength according to, what their multiple intelligences are, I think that's a very important thing in the future.
Okay, so do you think that parents will like it?
I think they would because in a more traditional way of education, for example, in Hong Kong or in Asia, we put a lot of stress on academic achievements. So people look at results a lot, but we know that in different kids, they have different potentials. So they might not be as good as, say, verbal, but they might be good at mathematics. So these things, we are not trying to put attention on one single item. Instead, we're trying to spread it over different items and really to, unlock the potentials of different individuals. I think parents are going to like this very much.
So take a good part of the traditional one and just abandon those bad parts.
Yeah, I can say that.
非常开心来参加这次会议。
您觉得有什么样的收获？
进一步了解了多元智能理论，同时，也认识了很多朋友。
您觉得多元智能理论它的最大的亮点？
多元智能理论它本身是一个理论，但是呢，加德纳先生已经在这几年又有了新的解释和发展，它对我们现在的人才培养非常有价值。
那么您觉得这种理论能够应用到内地或者香港学校吗？
我觉得现在内地和香港的学校很多做法都跟这个理论很类似，或者已经在用这个理论指导具体的教育实践。比如是要举香港的例子还是内地的例子？我是觉得在内地的一些中小学校里，已经有多元的这样的活动类型，不光有课程教学，还有一些课外活动，包括一些延伸的学生社团，都在很好的实践多元和多样化的教育活动。
那您觉得家长会有什么样的看法？
我觉得从孩子的发展来说，家长应该是非常高兴看到这种情况的。
有没有那种会觉得自己这样会不会耽误孩子学习成绩这样？
会有的，但是呢，这也是一个教育理念该普及的方面，因为有些家长可能很看重眼前的学习成绩，但事实上，一个人的成长除了成绩以外，他应该还有其他方面的综合的、协调的发展，那样才是一个对社会有用的人。